5 things you should consider when assessing a stump to grind it out. Stump grinding is something that is not as simple as one might initially think. So, the first thing is utilities and easements around that stump. If there's even the slightest chance that that stump is near something underground, water, electric, phone, TV, fiber, sprinkler heads, sprinkler line systems, anything, you should do a locate and figure out what you're dealing with. Call 811, do a locate. Okay, don't turn your job into where you're paying to do work. Make sure you're getting paid to do work. Do a locate. The second thing you should be looking for, and you should get out of your truck and you should be walking over to this thing, looking at it like a detective would look at a crime scene. That is how you properly assess a stump. You don't do it by saying, hey, I got a 1 foot diameter stump at my house and I need it ground out. That won't cut it. You go out, you check it out every time. Metal in the stump is another concern. So what I do is I look around and I look for little, pieces of fence that might still be sticking out the side of the bark where a fence was cut off years ago and the tree has almost completely engulfed it, but you still might be able to see it. And then you might have it where there's just a giant fence post sticking out the side of the stump. And you know that is going to take way more time. It's going to take different tools. You might have to break it off. You're definitely going to have to, maneuver around that thing and take a bunch of extra time so you can then cut it off or get it out of there below the ground level. But yeah, just nails, brake drums, posts, fencing, staples, whatever, they will all dull a chain. They will all make life harder. Work will take longer. So just get out, look, be aware of it. Another thing to consider is that stump cut low enough to the ground? If you're gonna have to cut it off with a saw, that's fuel, that's wear and tear on your equipment, and it's actually, if you're new, you're probably not aware of the fact that cutting a stump off at the flare is not as easy as you would initially think, because of the binding and the angles that get induced on your saw when you're doing that. The reason that happens is because when you come into the flare of a tree low and you're trying to get it low to the ground, your saw ends up, if this is a stump and this is a root flare right here, and I come in with my saw, right? I better pull over, hold on. This is the stump here. We'll do that. This is a root flare. This is your saw. And you're trying to come in straight and cut this thing off straight. Well, this root flare is pushing up on the head of the saw, and all of a sudden your bar is angled. And it's the same thing if you're running like a skill saw, hand saw through plywood or something, and you go left or right a little bit and you don't stay on that nice line, and you hear that thing start to bind. Well, it's the same concept, except for some reason you just don't, it doesn't click in your head because you're kind of rolling over that flare a little bit. And well, when you're doing that, your chain is being dulled because you're not cutting straight. Your bar is being worn out, and the head of that saw is taking on some weird forces and weird pressures that it wasn't made for. And it's hard on a saw to be cutting the flare and cutting the stump of a tree. So be aware of that. A lot of guys would probably say, dude, just don't cut it that low. Well, sometimes you literally just miss. Sometimes you think I can cut it this low, and you get around the other side and it just doesn't work out perfect every time. So be aware of that. The next thing I would say is you should be thinking about if the tree is a hardwood or a softwood. If it's a hardwood, it's going to take a longer time to grind. If it's a softwood, it's going to take less time. It's kind of common sense, but there you go. Something to consider. Is there rot in the stump? If there's rot in the stump, that's a good thing. You'll blow right through that with a stump grinder. No real problem. The only issue is it's pretty deceptive sometimes. So this stump's been here for 10 years and it's rotting out. Okay. I've seen stumps that have been sitting for 10 years and have rot all over it, and it literally goes an inch or two into the stump, and the rest of the stump is completely solid, and it has saved almost no time at all. So be aware of that. Don't be deceived by that. And that's pretty much what I would say are your considerations on stump grinding. The only other consideration is, what strategy are you using? And I was going to do a separate video, but I guess I could put it into, I'm going to do a separate video on strategy. I feel like there's pros and cons, but just, if you have a 30 horsepower machine, you're not making hay. You're not going fast. It's going to take some time. So if you're bidding a stump, you need to consider what will be done with the debris after it's ground out. Stump chips, some customers will dispose of them themselves or use them for mulch or whatever. Other customers, they just want everything done out of the way. So those are the considerations. A grande coffee.
Did you say just a grande coffee?
Yep, with a splash of whole milk.
Yeah. Is that all for you?
Yes. Well, actually, I'm gonna get some food too. That's it.
Okay, that is 11:52. We'll see you at the window.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So those are the things you should consider when you're grinding out a stump. If you have anything to add, please leave it in the comments, because I'm sure I didn't cover everything, and I'm sure there's many more considerations. Stump grinding, like I said, it's one of those things, seems easy. There's a lot of little nuance and complications that you don't consider if you're new to it. So thanks for watching. I appreciate your time, and I hope you have a good day.